Először 2020-ban a Covid-dal. Ezt még valahogy kivédtük, és alára gyorsan visszatértünk arra az útra, amit kijelöltünk a magunk számára, és amelynek ívét 2030-ig látjuk. De 2022-ben jött egy újabb meteortámadás, ez a háború, és ez már keményebb dió.
So it was interesting how unmoored from the American orbit he is. And maybe that's just a function of geography. He is far away from America, and he has more pressing concerns locally. It's Ezra Levant for Rebel News. I am in Tusvenyos, which is a Hungarian ethnic festival in Romania, where there are many Hungarians, a minority. And one of the things we just heard at a panel discussion is how the minority is picked on, says the Hungarian bishop, by people in Romania, including sometimes by the government. It was quite a prickly criticism of Romania, and what was fascinating is that sitting next to the bishop the whole time was the Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orban, who had a lot of jokes and barbs about Romania and its new leader. In fact, one of the jokes was Orban has been Prime Minister so long, this is his 20th counterpart on the Romanian side, and he wished him luck. It was pretty cheeky. He did have some olive branches for him too. I found it remarkable that the Prime Minister of Hungary would speak so passionately in defense of the Hungarian minority in Romania. He did seek to reach out to not only the leadership of Romania, but other neighbouring countries. The title of the speech, which we were told in advance, was A Time for Peace. I assumed it was going to be about the Russia-Ukraine war. At least that's sort of a dominant media narrative. But that's not really the number one agenda for these folks here. I think the number one thing is they are ethnic Hungarians. They regard themselves as Hungarians, but they are not in Hungary. And the country that rules over them, Romania, they say, treats them abusively, at best turns a blind eye to anti-Hungarian bigotry. They called it Hungaryphobia, and at worst joins in. So I think these people here are interested in Hungarian nationalism and being defended by and remembered by Hungarian politicians. So they're very supportive of him. I'm from Canada. I follow English language media. I follow media from the United States and the UK. So Ukraine war is pumped at us all the time. And I think that I, therefore, was expecting that the whole world shared this obsession. And of course, they're quite concerned with the war, but it is not the number one thing on their mind. And we should remember that just because the United States, the UK, and a handful of other countries, their media are obsessed by it, there are other things afoot. And here, economic development was something Orban talked about longer than he talked about the war. The European Union meddling in Ukrainian affairs was something he talked about. Interestingly, he said that since the United Kingdom left the European Union through Brexit, that's made it tougher for countries like Hungary. I suppose having the British in the European Union helped tamp down some of the overreach, the imperial overreach of the EU. There's something he said that I thought was interesting. He referred to an essay that in the last 300 years there have been 16 transitions of power from one global leader to the next, one civilization to the next, one great power to the next, he said. And 12 out of those 16 transitions were violent, were done through war. Only 4 were done peacefully, and he said he's worried that the world is at that juncture again, and he's worried that it's hurtling towards war. He talked a lot about the rise of China economically. He said that the 3 largest investors in Hungary are South Korea, Japan, and China, not the United States. So it was interesting how unmoored from the American orbit he is. And maybe that's just a function of geography. He is far away from America, and he has more pressing concerns locally. If I had to take something away from this speech, it's his belief in national identity, and underneath the national identity, a Christian identity. And he used Christian language more than any politician in the West would do, certainly more than you would see in Canada and the United States. He called the Constitution a Christian Constitution, and not only did he sit next to a Christian bishop, but the MC made reference to Christian ideas and in fact cited the book of Matthew in his closing remarks. So it's a very interesting place. Maybe it's a little bit like Canada or the United States was a generation ago, before Christianity was driven out of the public square, before that void was filled by environmentalism, wokeism, LGBTQism. The one thing Viktor Orban offers his people is identity. Identity of history, culture, architecture, art, language, religion, borders, history. That is a very strong identity, and Orban is trying to strengthen it. That's why he's called a nationalist. Nationalist sometimes is used as an epithet in the West, which is a post-national society where we tend not to believe in anything. Trouble is, if you don't believe in something, you'll fall for anything, as we see in the West. I think the craving of young people for some sort of identity, even though our history is being derided as genocidal, our statues are being torn down, if you remove from people all their moorings, if you remove from them their history, if you remove from them their national heroes, and if you take from them a belief system like Christianity, something will fill the void. And we see how insane that is in the West with the rise of they, them, filling the public square. Here, Viktor Orban has a different idea, filling the public square with Hungary-ness. And so far, the people of Hungary seem to love it. They've re-elected him 4 times. That's it for me after this speech. I'm going to try and do some streeters, a man on the street, woman on the street interviews. I find it difficult because the number of Hungarians who speak English, at least in this part of Romania, is quite low. In Hungary as a whole, it's about 20%. I think at this event, it feels more like 10%. And many of those who do speak English are shy. They either don't want to say the wrong thing to embarrass the PM, or maybe they're hostile to journalists, thinking that we're foreign-funded, Soros-funded attack journalists. We are not. We're funded only by you, our viewers. And if you want to help us out, go to thetruthabouthungary.com. You can chip into our crowdfunding campaign and see the rest of the videos we've done. From Tusnad, Romania, at the Tusványos Hungarian Festival. For Rebel News, this is Ezra Levant. I'm in Eastern Europe asking the question, what's the truth about Hungary? What is that country like? And why do leftists in the West hate it so much? To see all of my reports and to chip into our crowd-funded citizen journalism, go to thetruthabouthungary.com.